All right, are we ready to do this? This is ordinarily where we have something pithy and fun to put at the front of the episode, but so far you guys
I
are
keep
boring.
burping. I know, but I mean, I keep burping off screen, and my little green box doesn't light up. So, like, I can't tell if I'm blowing your eardrums out or not. But this Dr. Pepper Zero is really, really visiting.
Yeah, I'm with Ian over here. Yeah. All right, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gamers of all ages. It's episode 6 of the On the Button podcast. We're back with my boys Ian and Trey. Hey, Trey, how's it going, my friend? How you been?
Man, my life is as tip-top as it can get. I've had quite the day. I have this freshly squeaky shorn head. My wife made me a curry for dinner that was just left me.
What is this? You're going Wookiee on me, man. What is this?
Well, I mean, I always have the beard, but it's usually white because apparently my beard went gray. Having kids will do that, man. That'll make you go gray.
Yeah.
But I like to look younger every now and then. And my wife used to be a dog groomer, so she will every few weeks or so she'll trim my beard and like put some color in there for me, and then I look at least a year and a half younger.
At least. Ian, it sounds like you have been just living work, my friend.
Oh yeah. It's cat food reset time, clearance time. Like there's just a bunch of changes that go on at once. Company's hitting it pretty hard. So, and then coming up pretty soon, we got tariff price changes coming up.
Which have nothing to do with tariffs. This is just an opportunity for everybody to raise their price and throw their hands in the air and be like, tariff.
Now, I will say where I work, there is very limited amount of American-made products. So it probably is some tariff, some, little bit of price gouging go around, but,
well, the
pretty
other thing,
standard in retail.
Yeah, the other thing is that even, right now there's simply so much uncertainty, right? Because of the way that's being handled.
Yeah.
Nobody seems to know. Like I've read all these posts from people in the board game space about tariffs are screwing us. Tariffs aren't screwing us. Nobody really knows. Like it's just like nobody seems to have a good handle on it, because literally you'll go to bed thinking you've solved it, and you'll wake up in the morning and the goalposts have moved again, and now everything you thought you had solved is gone. So I know it's absolutely messing with people.
They have told us that they could just be canceled straight up. There could be limited ones. They're setting aside the time, like our time. So that we can do them if needed, I guess.
Yeah. Well, guys, welcome back. We're going to talk some Unlimited. Now, I have not been able to play in probably the better part of 2 weeks. I have had my head down in the studio with my head in overlays and setup and everything, trying to get prepped for Minnesota.
Working, not feeding the family. You're just slaving away at your hobby.
I mean,
in your studio.
I mean, yes. Yes. At the same time, I do go to the work. I go to my job every day, but I have not been, the last 2 Tuesdays I've missed because I had stuff to be doing downstairs. Last night, I would have been playing. I have decks I want to play. But my new computer chassis came in yesterday, and on Sunday my new travel case for the PC rack came in. And so it was I needed to rebuild everything and reload it into the rack and get the rack in the case and make sure that it all fit, and then weigh the thing and make sure it came in under 70 pounds and yada, yada, yada. That was what I did last night instead of going to play Unlimited, right? So
I actually missed last night for the first time since the game came out. I think that was the first time I missed Unlimited.
We waited for you, by the way, for the
I
next 15 minutes.
I missed it.
We're where's Trey?
I had a last, we talked about last time. I have that senior. This was her last band concert ever. So there were tears and excitement all over the place. But I will say, I have played more SWU since we were cast last than I have ever. Because I don't know what they did with Carabas, but they made it all work. And now you just click on the join the queue, and you have you can play a game within seconds of being in the Carabas. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Very good.
For a long time I could play, but I'd have to refresh and then find somebody. Oh, I'll find that guy. Okay, there's a room. There's not a room. I'll come back in 15
So-
minutes. But now it is just firing game after game.
So does it have like
Yeah.
an auto pair function now? You just say, I want to play, I
Yes.
hit this button,
Yes.
it just finds you an opponent, and off you go?
Yep.
Oh, that's
that's
handy.
that's the default now.
That
that's the
is
default. You load a deck,
nice.
you say go, and then previously
Okay.
it would just sit there and spin for. I just out of curiosity one
Interesting.
time I'd let it spin for like 15 minutes and it never found anything.
Hmm.
And then within 3 or 4 seconds I usually have a game.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, as we say, it feels
Fantastic.
instantaneous almost.
Yeah.
Well, we may not, now, Ian, if you it sounds like you've been working so much you haven't gotten to play much, right? Yes, no?
No, I still go every Tuesday.
Okay,
I
so
mean,
you've made it and
I
gotten some
literally
games in
don't
then.
work Tuesdays for to play Unlimited.
Wow, I'm jealous.
Like my schedule is I don't work Tuesdays. It's not a very busy day at my job, so
Kinda
it's a
jealous.
pretty easy day to take off.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, I went to we ran a little tournament, just an 8-person tournament.
Mhm. Last night.
Last night, Richard won with Kira Green,
Okay.
and
You played Kieran on Ray, huh?
he played Kira. He played Kira Green. Actually, somebody else did play his Ray deck because she didn't bring. God, I forget her name. The
Is that
girl
Katie?
comes up with Fred. Katie.
Is it
Thank
Katie?
you.
Katie, yeah.
Katie. Yeah.
Yeah, Katie. Katie played his Ray deck.
Okay.
And then Samad took second place with his Sabine.
I'm
Green.
kind of surprised Katie
Yes.
hates constructed.
She actually, Fred played her Mace Red deck and went 2-1 with it. It was actually a pretty fun deck.
Yes. I can't wait to build
I
that. I'm so
I
excited to
watched
build
it
that.
play, and it was pretty interesting.
I'm excited to
Pretty
build that one.
interesting.
I'm excited to build that one. Well, the competitive world has continued on, right? We're now into mid-May. There's been at least 2 weeks of planetary qualifiers since we last did a show. Data coming in. Of course, we've had all of these big regionals and sector qualifiers. One more regional to go. The most recent regional was 2 weekends ago in France, of course, won by Sabine Datavolt. I don't think anybody saw that one coming. But yeah, you did not, you liar.
I don't know, but I didn't see it winning that one. But the moment that vote was spoiled, I was like, man, this is the card.
Fair enough.
I'm excited about this one.
But all kinds of things are out there, right? We've seen more. Sabine has continued to win some PQs. We've seen a lot of Ray Data Vault creeping in. Won both the Dallas PQ last weekend, and then I think one of the big Connecticut PQs up in the Northeast was last weekend. A very tough competitive scene up there. Big PQ up in Chicago. Was won by Han Yellow, right? We're back in set 1 again, apparently. So the same kinds of players that we have been seeing for a while filtering to the top, right? Quinlan, Sabine, Ray. Well, maybe not Ray. Ray's, I think, kind of a late resurgence, but certainly Han and Kira have been around. Like, they have not really gone anywhere. Kira and that villain green control shell. And then a few other things percolating to the top. So I think we're still in a world where there are some consistent performers, but that doesn't mean that you can't take your interesting concoction that you like and understand the matchups and can't go to a PQ and have a good performance. Agree, disagree?
Oh, totally.
No, I think that's fantastic.
100%.
Yeah. No, I agree. I love it. I love it.
I love how it is. And one of the things that I like, and I don't know if it's me or it feels like there's been less general fanfare in the last week around the tournaments, which I think is good, that we now have enough tournaments going on that it's not like everyone is this major event. Because when we recorded last time, there was there'd been like a couple of events on one weekend, and everybody knew about them because they were the big things. And now you just rattled off a list. I've watched like the finals of one on accident because I happened to turn on YouTube when it was streaming, and then other than that, I had no idea there were this many tournaments going on. So
PQ season, baby.
Well, yeah, but when the game grows enough that me as somebody that pays attention to it doesn't see everything, there's so much stuff going on that I don't see everything. That makes me happy.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and the turnout in Lille was almost 900 players, easily the largest SWU tournament we've had to date. So
Those French are hard up for a game.
Well, there were people from all over Europe, right? Poles, Brits, Frenchmen, Belgians. Probably there was a bunch of, just everybody all over Europe. Now, Lille, looking at the logistics, that is not the most convenient place to get to hold a tournament. I'm not sure why they chose that venue. But they had a massive turnout, highly successful event, it sounded like. And I don't say what?
Wasn't too hard to get to. Sent 900 people to it.
Clearly, it wasn't impossible. And of course, our regional here in the States coming up in about 10 days. The only other regional being held in this particular season. I don't think it's going to be nearly as large. Right now, the last I checked, they were just getting up to about 600 participants. So I think if we break the 700 mark, we're going to be good. We're going to be pretty good.
If I walk into any event with SWU and there's 600 people playing, I'm going to feel real good about the state of the game.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that I don't think the American regional in Minnesota over Memorial Day weekend is going to have as many participants as the one did in France a couple weeks ago.
I wonder if it's tied at all to school calendars, because people are just now finishing school in America. I don't know what this calendar is like in Europe.
Yeah, I don't know either. But yeah, so like I'm competitive wise, the game feels very healthy to me right now. I think we're in a good place. Now, some of that I've started to see. I don't know if you guys hang out on a bunch of Discords as I do, but there's a lot of talk about Data Vault in particular. There's the two bases in this set, right, that are more than 30 points in terms of health, right? Data Vault at 33, Colossus at 35. And Lake Country at 34.
Lake Country. You just told me about Lake Country.
Lake Country at 34. I forget that one sometimes. I apologize. But it feels like of all of them, Data Vault is having the most impact because green is such a strong color to pair with a obviously wide variety of leaders.
Right. It's just green is the color.
Yeah, and it's more cards too. It helps you grab more of those green cards that you want to put into your deck.
Data Vault
10 cards is really helpful when building. Like, you're not cutting as much as you want to cut. Like, I know when I build a deck, sometimes it's 75 cards. And then I'm like, oh, shoot, I got to cut 25 cards out. But when you build a deck, let's say you build it, it's 65 cards. You only got to cut 5 cards. You're feeling very strong about your cuts.
But that was just so see, that flies in the face of traditional logic about card games for the entirety of the history of the card games. So when you, for example, in your example, you want to do something with your deck, like your deck wants to win by either throwing dudes out and turning sideways, or controlling, whatever it is, your deck wants to do it. And when you have the minimum, whatever the minimum is, so in this case 50 cards, 51 through 54 or whatever it goes to, are going to be less good at what you're trying to do than cards 46 to 50, because otherwise they would have swapped places. And so the traditional thinking has always been that you want to be right on that minimum length so that you're drawing the cards that you want to draw that are the most powerful and the most effective at forwarding exactly what you want to do. And I think that this is an interesting challenge to that conventional thinking, because it's not just showing up, it's doing, like, it is the default choice now.
It's doing hard work, man. It's winning a lot of tournaments. It's like maybe becoming the premier base over Tarkin Town and ECL.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed about Unlimited when I look at it through the lens of my TCG, CCG experience over the years, right? 50 cards, it's very difficult to cut a deck down to 50 cards. Usually, in order to do that, you are sacrificing something that you wish you had. And for me, in most of the decks that I build, I end up sacrificing a top end, right? In the sense of I don't have many units that go past, let's say, 6 or 7 cost. And I'm not a big control guy player. I don't generally play decks that go past that point. And usually the game is over. Either I'm out or I've won. So, but when you put in a base that gives you more health and tells you get 10 more cards, maybe now you have some more contingency plans. You go a little further. Think about a Sabine green deck that now maybe plays Profundity. I'm just picking a high cost rebel red card out of my head. But like Profundity or Radis or something like this, whereas previously they would have stopped at Wrecker. Now you can take another step to the high end and I won't say be rewarded for it, but let's say because of the extra health on your base, have more of an opportunity for that card to have an impact because you don't die as fast.
So I'm not arguing against the 33 point. I mean, clearly what you guys are saying, or at least that the 10 cards is not a detriment, is true. I just am fascinated by how that flies in the face of conventional thinking. Because in your case, in the example you just gave with Profundity, like yes, you have profundity, but as you increase the number of cards in the deck and the number of different cards in the deck, you're increasing the variability of the draw.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some number of games where you're going to draw profundity instead of that 2 drops to Bean.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's going to screw you at the beginning of the game, and Sabine is going to lose because you had a 9 drop instead of a 2 drop in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's the conventional thinking, but we're out here in the real world. I'm not going to argue against data at all, and apparently it doesn't matter.
I also think that the card pool of the game has gotten large enough where you can mitigate some of that by playing enough variety of low-cost units to not completely hose yourself, right? In the sense, these bases would never have worked in the original set, right? Nobody would have played them with only one set of cards because there were times people were struggling to come up with 50 cards, much less 60.
They did what they wanted.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. But now we literally have a card pool of over 1,000 cards. Now, let's say you pick 2 colors for your deck, which is typical. Finding a variety and mix of 2 and 3 drops to get your game going is not that challenging anymore. And so the idea of, okay, I'm going to add 10 more cards to my deck, sure. Am I increasing the possibility that I'm going to hose myself on my opening draw? Yes. How do I mitigate that? I take a certain portion of my 10 cards and I add in a few more cheap units. Bam. Good to go, right? And usually that should offset mathematically, at any rate, the negative that I'm drawing, and we have a card pool now that supports that possibility.
I mean, the way I build with Data Vault is I try to find the 20 strongest cards for that leader. It's not really hurting my pull. It's only 20 cards. But now I have 3 of each of them, so my chances of pulling what I need, that are combos, and what I have and what I want becomes much higher. I mean, I don't know. I'm feeling like building with it is a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Every week I keep tweaking my Yoda deck, and it gets, some weeks I make good tweaks, and other weeks, like this last week, I made really bad tweaks. Mm-hmm. So it's like just trying to find that good, like those just 20 perfect cards, and then you've got 3 of each, and you can pull them as you need. I don't know. I'm loving it. I think it's a great base. I think it's really fun to build around.
One of the gripes that I have with card games in general, and I know it's not ever going to be perfect, but I don't like it when there's a default correct answer, when there's just an answer that requires no thinking. And so I'm looking at this 33-point base that has kind of become the default. I don't care for that. I want it to either be, so say you're choosing a green base. I want the choice between Data Vault, my wish list and Pie in the Sky wish list. I want the choice between a 33-point base with 10 extra cards, a 30-point base with nothing, and a 25-point base that gives you that lets you attack immediately with ambush. I want the power level to be so razor thin that the decision of whether you're going to use this base, or this base is either a matter of taste or very particular to how your deck plays. And so I'm curious what you guys think about. Is 33 too high? If that makes it is 33 health too much? The 10 cards you're paying is not a high enough cost to get the extra 3 health? Like, why is it just that it's new and exciting for everybody, and everybody's used to thinking in terms of 25 or 30 points of math?
Ian,
what do you guys think?
What's your thoughts there?
I don't really know. That's a really good question. I think the 3 extra health is actually, with the 10 cards, I think it's just a huge benefit. Like, I think it's better than ECL, right? Because, I mean, like Wes said, you can either go high end, or you can build the way I do, where you're just looking for the 20 perfect cards. The extra 3 health it's huge. Sometimes the exact difference between games. So
it's actually 8 extra health, because the previous default choice was at 25.
Yeah,
so
it's 25.
Getting extra health.
So I played Richard, and he was playing Kira Data Vault. Mm-hmm. And both games I had him where it was my action came up like 2 health short, 1 health short. And so his healing and his extra 3 health are the reasons why I couldn't get over that Kira hump last night.
So is 3 too much? That's my question. Is 3 too much? Because if I've got the cost that I have to pay to get that 3 health is to chuck 10 extra cards in my deck, and I don't mind paying that in every instance. I don't mind paying that because the 3 health is such a huge gain. Should it be 2 or 1?
I mean, maybe, because I'll throw the flip at you, because I played Zamad's Sabine ECL, and with my Piet Red, I beat him 2-1, and it was just a matter of I got over that hump because I was just right there. So it may be that 3 health is the difference. It's pretty sweet. I mean, it's fun to build around. I mean, that's for sure.
I think you could make a case, Trey, that 2 health would have been fine. I think 1 health is not enough incentive. I think if it was 1, nobody would play this card. Be like, for 1 extra health, why would I just like? And for 2 extra health, I think you're fine. I think it would still get played, but it might not be as kind of prevalent as it has become. Obviously, enough of the player base has reached a point where they've decided 3 health is worth it. And green is such a strong color to complement so many other leaders because the overwhelming majority of green leaders are weak, right? Look at the game. Like,
but the cards are good.
The cards are great, but the leaders are almost universally just right? They're just there, right? Like every time we've thought we've found one, like everybody looked at Piet and went, this card's going to be great. He really hasn't made a big splash. He's okay. He's not bad, but he's not a power, right? I look at Wedge the same way. I look at Wedge and this card should be amazing. He's kind of just, he's okay. He's maybe above average. That's probably about the best you can say about Wedge. Well. New Vader is probably one of the only ones that I would say is actually like legit competitive on a green leader standpoint. Old Leia, Palpatine, old Leia, like from set 1 for sure. But look at, like, we went through like 2 complete sets, set 2 and set 3, where all of the green leaders just really didn't make a big impact. Rex,
Hondo?
Padme, Hondo,
Tarkin. I did good work with Tarkin.
Set 1. I'm talking about set 2 and 3.
Oh,
okay?
Set 2. Okay.
Jabba, Boba, Green Hero Boba, like Wat Tambor, like all of these guys. Dooku has had some success. I know Trey's got a Dooku yellow deck he really likes, but in general, none of these leaders have made a splash. But the green cards continue to be amazing.
It's so great,
right? Things like Maul.
I still can't count the number of games I've won with overwhelming barrage.
Exactly.
Like, that card example. Is just clear your board, 10 to base, victory.
and then flipped in the modern metagame, yellow cards are played prevalently too, and they don't have a plus 30 point base. So even if you find a good leader in green and you want to pair it with yellow, you've got to go Data Vault with a yellow leader.
Yeah. Could you imagine a yellow base that gave you extra health and something awesome?
It would have to be a drawback, though. It'd have to be like 1 health for something.
I just
your leader deploys exhausted or something. I don't know. Pick something.
I feel like the reason that Data Vault's so heavy is I don't feel the 10 cards is a drawback. I really don't. I feel it's an advantage right now.
I think a lot of deck builders agree with you. I think the meta is absolutely shifting to where it agrees with you. You talked about
just crazy how much that flies in the face of 30 years of card games.
Yeah.
30 years. I've been doing this since 1994, so 31 years.
Yeah. I'm with you there. I'm with you.
It is gospel that you cut down to the minimum deck size.
You don't got to sell me,
just
man.
Gospel. And I'm not arguing against the results. It's just crazy to me that that's just upending the knowledge, the common knowledge.
I do want to talk about Colossus real quick.
Yes.
When you play somebody who's using Colossus, make sure they draw 5 cards.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you got
every freaking time they draw 6 cards.
Because
like now,
especially,
no.
especially at a formal big event, because if they make a mistake, you need to call a judge over and get that dealt with. Okay, I don't think they get a game loss, but I think they get like warning points or something. And you want to reinforce to them that it's their responsibility to play their cards correctly, not yours.
And then if you want to put something, even because going back to the formal thing, like always call the judge, because
Yes.
even if they don't, even you're not fishing for a win, you're not trying to get
No.
this person in trouble. You're trying to get them to do things correctly. And if you call the judge the first time and the judge goes, you have a warning, or I don't know, whatever
it is,
here,
doesn't matter.
Whatever they call them, well, then it happens the night. Like, you want it to be on the record that this person is drawing the wrong number of cards.
Correct.
So that if it happens in the second round, and the third round, and the fourth round, if it happens once, it's probably not cheating. If it happens 5 times in a tournament, they're just trying to exploit the rules, or they're just dumb and they don't need to be playing in the tournament. So either way, you have to call the judge.
Now, Ian brings up a good point. We spent all this time bloviating about Data Vault, but there are 2 other bases out there that are not making the same impact, right? We've seen people experimenting with Lake Country. I think we're going to continue to see people experimenting with Lake Country, because I think it's an interesting idea of a base that's just like, here's my base, I have 4 extra hit points, but I don't have to, I get no aspect bonus. It's all on my leader. I think that's interesting. I think the drawback to Colossus in the modern game is too large for that card to make a big impact.
See, this is where I disagree. Okay. I think the 5 health for the 1 card is perfect, because like I was saying earlier, it's not the default right answer, but there are decks that it is the default right answer. So like my Emperor Palpatine Blue does not care about the -1 card because it draws so many cards. So Colossus, if you compare it to Data Vault is better because it's just played more often. But I think the 5 health for the 1 card is a huge drawback, but 5 health is a huge boon.
Yes.
And so it is, like, sometimes it's the right choice, but it's not always the right choice, which is exactly where I think a card should be powered.
Which is fair.
It's a rough matchup against anything that's playing Spark.
Well, it's not just Spark, right? Because look at, like, the Quinlan decks don't just run Spark. They run Pillage and they run Force Throw. Now, I personally think Force Throw is going to get banned before the next set comes out, or everyone is going to have 3 in their deck anytime we sit down to play, because Force units are going to be everywhere. But the point remains that hand destruction is a very strong, very valid tactic for a very prominent deck in the meta right now. I'm talking about Quinlan Tarkentown, or just Quinlan Red, or whatever. All the versions of Quinlan play some version of hand targeting. And certain leaders, like you talk about your Palpatine Blue drawing a bunch of cards. If you have mechanics in your deck to make up that deficit, great. But if you don't, playing with Colossus is a huge risk. I would not encourage
it's a huge risk. Then don't do it. That's the whole point. Like, it is perfectly positioned for how I think cards should be designed on power.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the right choice. Sometimes don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Trey, one of the things that you wanted to put on the agenda tonight, this was kind of your big idea, was how to be better at Unlimited. Now, I think are you really focused on Unlimited, or are we talking about just TCGs in general?
I find the two are the same thing.
Oh, okay.
So, and I find that, so I'm okay at these games. If I compare myself to people like at my locals, I win more than my share of stuff at locals. But if I go to big tournaments, I don't tend to do as well because I don't put the time in.
Okay.
And so I think a lot. I'm 49. I've been playing these games for 30 years. I think a lot about how to get better at games. I try to think rationally about a lot of things. And so to me, it's all fractals of the same thing. Getting better at SWU is getting better at card games, and getting better at card games is the same as getting better at life. To me, it's all a fractal of the same thing. And it's, I didn't have a good segue for this one, but just, first of all, it has to do with it, like checking your pride at the door. You have to know, not think, but know that sometimes you're wrong, and be okay with that. And don't think that, like, things are not the correct thing because you chose them. You chose them because you thought they were the correct thing, and that you are a human being who is open to failure at anything. And so when you check that at the door, and you stop thinking that I made this decision in my life, or I played this particular game in Magic, and I made all the right choices, or I played this game in SWU, and I clearly, because I did them, and I didn't notice anything going wrong at the time, I made all the right choices in this game, and something outside of this screwed me. And when you when you remove from yourself the ability to be wrong, you instantly cut off your ability to learn and grow, no matter what the thing is, well, no matter what realm of your life you're in. And so, and we're talking about SWU here. So, in the terms of CCGs. And so it's taken me a long time, because I was one of those kids growing up that I was super, super smart, and I was right far more often than I was wrong. And so learning that even if you're this smart, you're still going to be wrong a lot, and you're going to have to go back and examine why you were wrong and learn from it. Like, that was a tough lesson for me to learn. But once I wrapped my head around that and I put it into practice, it becomes just like anything, the more you do something and the more you force yourself to do something, you get better and better at it. And so I still get mad at games, but it's usually because I let my discipline slip. Yeah. Sometimes the chaos guy at the Twin Suns table throws a bomb your way. And so and listening to you tell that story, it reminded me of the rule of thumb that I think about when it comes to me being upset at games. Is it always comes from me. When I get upset about games, and I see this with other people too, it always comes from a mismatch of what I expected versus what I got. And it always comes because I expected too much. And so I expected to go into this tournament and win. And then, so like I went to, what is that? I went to a tournament up in Conroe not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago. And I expected to do very well. I expected to make the top cut. And I had to arrest myself in the middle of the tournament because I didn't make the top. I got 7th, and it was a top 4 cut. But I had to arrest myself in the middle of the tournament. I lost 2 games. I lost 1 game because I legitimately got a bad draw. Like, I didn't have a turn 1 play, and sometimes that happens. And you have to be able to identify that, but only after you ruthlessly go through and make sure you didn't screw something else up. But I lost 1 game to a mistake. Like, I sat and played the best guy, the guy who was kind of the ringer at that Conroe store, like Cards and Comics. He and I play every tournament, and I can't beat him in the tournament setting. And I don't know always this, but we sat there and we discussed playing. Like, I had him pretty much beat, and he was able to like sneak that last point of damage in and kill me. And then he and I sat there and talked about it. And I realized, going back over it, that I, at one point 3 rounds earlier, I had resourced a card that had Sentinel, that if I'd have kept it in my hand, I would have been able to play it out. And then he wouldn't have been able to get the last point in, so that my Air Force would have been able to get through to kill him. And I would have successfully like stabilized it to life and then killed him from there. But I had to go back and find that mistake. But it was, I didn't really start to get upset, because it's one of those, like, I would have gotten upset earlier in my life, but now that I have practiced enough of correcting, I don't always succeed. Sometimes I do get mad. Ian can tell you that sometimes I get upset at these
We are
things.
all still human, Trey. It does happen.
But in this instance, like, I was able to put it into my head that you can lose a game to a mistake, and you can lose a game to a poor draw, but you can't do both and make the top cut. And then I was able to leave. I was able to leave with that and feel not good about it, but have like everything made sense in my head. And so I wasn't upset. My expectations had been readjusted. So anyway, that's when I wanted to talk. I don't remember what it was. I think I was listening to another podcast, and they brought up being better, dealing with disappointment. I think that's what it was. They were talking about dealing with disappointment and I wish I could give them credit because it's such an interesting topic. But they were talking about, how do you deal with it when you lose over and over, and how do you handle that disappointment, which is not necessarily what I want to talk about, but which I brought this topic up, but just being better at these card games, and as a repeating pattern, a fractal for everything in life. It's just, it has to do with checking your ego at the door and accepting that you can be wrong. So another thing, because I think I do a lot of internal soul searching in my life, because my brain moves 100 miles an hour, and there's just not that much for me to think about. One of the things that I've come up with, because I get into discussions with people, and I get accused of that. And I hear this with other people too. I had said about other people that I always have to be right. Like, Trey, always have to be right. And they say that, and I agree with them. I always have to be right. But what they mean and what I mean are 2 different things. What they mean is that whatever I believe has to be the correct thing, and I cannot accept anything else. Because
you're an insufferable know-it-all? Is that what they're implying?
I mean, well, yeah, and that has to be right. And that is not correct at all. It used to be that I didn't think I would be wrong when I was much
Welcome
younger.
to Trey's confession, ladies and gentlemen. Forgive us, Father. He has sinned.
So what the way that I turn that around is, yes, I always have to be right. But it's not that what I believe has to be true, it's that I have to believe what is true. And when I am presented with new evidence that convinces me that I'm open to being wrong, and if you show me new evidence that says this is the thing that's true and it is different than what you believe, it is incumbent upon me to now change what I believed before that was wrong. I have to change to what I now know is right. Like, I accept that I'm wrong and I accept that I'm going to be right. It's difficult to prove me wrong because I think a lot on a lot of things and I weigh a lot of things. And we may have just differing value things that you think you're right and I think I'm right. We'll just agree to disagree. But I do have to be right all the time, but not because the thing that I already believe has to be right, but because whatever I am shown to be right, I have to change my belief to be. So in this case, going back to SWU, I had to think about it. I believed it was right in that moment to resource the Sentinel guy because I needed to build my Air Force to come over this. Now I've been shown that it was true that I needed to actually hold on to that Sentinel guy so that I had him available to play so that in case my opponent put something on the ground, I would be able to stop it. And so now I believe I have to be right. So I have changed my belief to I should have held that Sentinel guy. I was wrong. So that's what I mean when I talk about what do you do to get better? It is just accepting how wrong you can be and putting yourself in a position to learn.
I think,
man,
go ahead.
I play cards completely different than I live my life. Like, I live my life I was raised by 4 really loving grandparents, 2 really loving parents, where treating people with kindness and respect matters. And when I play cards,
and then there's Ian at the card table.
I am the complete opposite. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy, kill them all. Like,
well, you're a warrior poet, and you're a warrior poet. Off of the battlefield, you were a credit to society and the things that. But when you step onto that battlefield, you have to put yourself in the armor and act ruthlessly.
It cost me a lot of games because I play too aggressive at times. But like, I don't know. I just I find it so fun to play like a little more aggressive style. Be a little more. I'm definitely more cocky at the card table than I am like in real life. Like, I'll tell people like, I got you checkmated. It doesn't matter what you do. I'm killing you next turn. Like, you've got nothing. Like, I mean, I've played Anthony before and I've had him down to like 2 points. So I'll like put the Ruthless Raider that's in my hand backside so you can see it. Like,
now you're just taunting him. You're just being like, I'm going to casually show you the card that's going to end your life next action.
I will say my favorite football player of all time is Deion Sanders. So I am right there loving everything that you're doing. The showboat. Like, if you've got the skill to back it up, I want to see you showboat and rub it in people's faces.
Now that's fair. That's Ian's that's the SWU equivalent of a bat flip, right? When you homer in baseball,
exactly.
Bat flip, that's the same idea. Yeah, I love it.
Now, when they plunk you with the baseball next time, you got to be like, fine, but I beat you last time. You got to take that too.
Yeah. So I mean, I can't relate the others. I would tell you like the best way if I was, getting better as I've gotten better over the last almost year and a half now. Mm-hmm. Playing games in person is way more important than playing on Carabast. A Carabast game takes 10 minutes. No matter how many resources you go. I've played a 15 resource game that went 8 minutes long. Like, you're playing fast and furious. In person, learning facial cues, learning
body language.
Body language.
How many times have you and I called tournaments and you're the one pointing out, look at that guy's face. He has no play.
He got nothing.
He has no idea what his next play is.
You can see it on his face.
You can see it on his face. Ian loves the face cams when we call tournaments for expressly this reason.
And then, 100%. And at the same time, like, learning how to set up your combos without losing them is really hard to do. And learning to do it in person really matters. Like, my Piet deck has some 4-5 turn combos that I'm trying to set up. So you've got to put in like bait cards where, I'll play a ground unit that I know I want to be killed, but the opponent across from me has to kill it. Things like that. Like, I'm trying to set up combos. So you've got to really play in person. That would be my number one thing I would say to get better is to go to your local place, wherever it is, get some games in. Even if you get, like I did, the first 2 months that I played, I didn't win a single freaking match, a best of 3 for like 2 months.
But
So-
your expectations were that you were going to lose, and so since your expectations were not going unmet, you were fine with it. You expected to go in and get creamed because all these people
Yeah, I
knew how
wanted
to
to win
play.
some freaking games, man. It was killing me.
But
on
I'm
the
just saying,
inside.
you wanted to, but that wasn't your expectation. You thought, I'm
No, I
going into
mean-
this new arena.
Yeah, I mean, like when I'm trying to play, like I still do it occasionally. Like I try to force choke a vehicle, right, Wes?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Like, I still don't always. like,
Everybody's tried that at
remember what
least
all the
once.
cards
Don't
said.
worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, playing in person really helps you work out all those little kinks. So
And when you play
that
on
would be my recommendation.
When you play in a place like Carabas or Magic Online or whatever it is, it's nice to have the computer do all of the studious caretaking and moving and tapping and changing things around for you. But it's a crutch, and when you take that crutch away, if you don't know how to, if you go into something where it matters that you know how to walk without a crutch, and you're just having that crutch taken away for the first time, like you're going to stumble.
I'm
just learning how to move the cards.
I'm a huge believer in playing in person because the online tools, as good as they are and as much fun as they are, they teach you bad habits for exactly the reasons you're talking about, Trey. Because all the things that you are required to do at the table to maintain your own board state correctly are automated, right? For lack of a better word, when you play on these online tools, and so you get lazy. You forget or you don't think about every little interaction because the game just does it for you. And
Colossus automatically draws them the cards, and so you also make so you don't have to check.
You're getting into you're getting into specific cards. I'm talking about something as basic as when you resource a card. Okay, the way a game turn is structured, like you could get caught in a big event if you don't understand functionally that you resource a card before you ready anything on the board. If you start readying units and then resource a card after that in a live event, an opponent could legally call you on it and say, no, you readied your stuff, you didn't resource.
If you watch these games on stream, they don't. I call it, but everybody that I watch, I've noticed that they do it correctly. They play cards in the play and then they untap everything.
Being mechanically correct in how you play the game. If you're just screwing around in local events and whatever, man, you do you. But if you are intending to go to compete at big events, understanding and being able to functionally execute basic mechanics correctly on the table is critical. And I see it on camera all the time. People are just too loose with it. I don't want to say they're screwing it up intentionally because that's implying intent where I don't know. I have no idea. But you see people get sloppy. You see guys that take their resources, right, and they tap it like 10 degrees. Well, is it actually tapped or not?
Yeah.
Okay. Or they stack them up.
Now.
Right? And they stack them up. And that's not okay. Like when you go to exhaust resources, one of the matches we called in Denver, we saw this guy a couple of times and I can't remember his name, but he was so mechanically precise that I actually saw a couple of these.
Player.
The Han Curtis was one, and there was a guy playing Django we saw a couple times.
Yeah.
They were so incredibly precise. Calling those games was a pleasure because there was never any question what was happening. They were one by one counting out resources. They were getting turned 90 degrees. They would play a card. When they would take damage, when their opponent would tap a card and say, I attack your base for 3, they would look down at their base. They would go, okay, I'm at 3. I'm going to 8. They would verbally respond that they understood what was happening and they would update their base health, and then they would go make notes off to the side. Some people only update their little notepad off to the side and don't correctly track their base health on the table. That's also, by the strict letter of the rules, not correct. And as a caster, it drives me insane. But anyway, mechanically, the point is playing live games in person is important.
Well, and again, it goes back to my no mercy phrase. I'm not going to remind you to draw a card. I'm not going to remind you that when defeated, you deal 2 damage to a unit.
Okay, there I agree with you.
That's not my job.
However,
not my job.
If
Carabas will do it for you.
Yes, but if there is a bounty on my unit and you murder it, I should be reminding you, right? To me, that's an etiquette thing.
I'll remind.
I think tournament rules I think tournament rules strictly by the letter. It's not, I'm not required to say anything, but as player
I usually
etiquette,
do.
I should be saying you can collect this bounty if you want to, just as a reminder, right? It's up to you. I don't care if you draw the card, but the bounty's there, right?
Yeah.
That's an etiquette thing. That's me. But anyway, so I'm glad you mentioned it because to me, there's absolutely no substitute for playing games in person. The one thing that I wanted to add to this conversation, the little note that I made, was about knowing your own card interactions. I find a lot of times players put cards in decks and they haven't really always thought through how some of this stuff interacts. Now, sometimes that's okay if you're just dicking around and messing around at local players. You're learning, right? But if you're going to like higher competitive events, you're going to a PQ or a regional or a sector qualifier. If you're going to show up to the Galactics in July and play in the main event, understanding how the stuff in your deck interacts is incumbent upon you. Now, that's important for a couple of reasons. One is the more you understand it, the less likely you are to miss a trigger, something important that you don't want to miss, right? Whatever it is, right? I'll just use an easy example from the Phasma deck that I play, that I enjoy playing, Hux, right? When you put Hux on the board, every other first order unit gets raid 1. You have to remember that. It's not your opponent's job to remember that. You have to remember that. So remember all of these things. But the other is that sometimes just by knowing mechanically how things work, you'll be looking through your hand and go, oh, you'll have that little moment of clarity of you just discovered an interaction that you hadn't seen before simply because you understand how mechanically the cards work. You're like, oh, that's a new one. I didn't realize that was a thing. And sometimes that can be a big deal because your opponent didn't realize it either, and you can surprise them with something, which is neat.
That is neat.
All right.
Commercial.
Huh?
That was a pause for commercial.
Yeah, there you go.
We don't have commercials.
We don't have
but,
commercials. Yeah, no, we don't have
Fade
commercials.
to black.
We don't have commercials. Now, this was Trey.
Sell some dish soap. Come back.
Now,
There you
Trey, you put this one on the agenda. I have I want you to lead this topic
This is Ian.
because
Ian talked
Oh,
about
this is
it.
me.
this is you
This
put
is
this
me.
one. You put this on the top. Okay,
Yeah.
but I want to
Hanger
hear your,
packs, baby.
talk to me
Hanger
about this
packs.
because I have no thoughts on this at all.
I'm super excited. So, like, when Larcana first
Clarify what you're talking about for everybody so they know
Okay.
where we're going.
hanger packs. So, what FFG is doing is they're creating mass retail packs that will be hanging up at your local Target, your local
Okay.
Walmart,
Yes.
where they'll be sitting next to Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic, right? Where
Right.
they have the other hanger packs.
Okay.
I've never played Larcana, but when Larcana first came out, I saw a couple packs hanging there, and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna check these out," and just bought them just to open them. So I'm hoping that it leads to like, you go into the card section with your kid. Your kid's like, "Dad, I want Pokemon," and the dad's like, "Nah, man, let's get those Star Wars packs. What is this about? Let's check Star Wars out." Because the hanger packs will be next to the starter decks too. The starter decks are going to go mass retail too.
Okay. Interesting.
So I'm hoping that it just leads to more new players coming in because we can't have enough new players in this game. And the fact that it's been out for a year and a half now, hopefully goes back and I just think it's going to be a great thing with people buying hanger packs. I think it's great. Could be totally wrong, and it could totally I don't know.
No, it's
destroy
good.
the
It's
game
good that
maybe,
people-
but
No, it's good that people can buy them now. I appreciate the way this is another. We've talked before about how FFG spent all the marketing budget saying, "Please trust us one last time. We won't screw this up."
Yeah.
And I think that this decision, because this decision goes back to before the game launched of how they were going to do this. And if you want a view of how to do this incorrectly, you can look at. You can look at Lorcana, because Lorcana stabbed all of their specialty retailers, all of your Dragon Slayers, all of your comic shops, all got stabbed in the back when Lorcana came out. Because so think about the print run for the first set and how limited that was in the beginning.
I was going to say, help me out here because I've heard rumors, but I was not really paying attention to Lorcana when it came out. So I know.
Well, I'm not talking about
I
Lorcana
bought
now. I'm talking about
packs.
Swoop.
You're talking about Unlimited.
Think
Okay, apologies.
Come back to Unlimited for a
yes,
moment.
SOR
Sorry,
was
I
very
shifted.
difficult. SOR was very difficult to get.
It was hard to
100%.
get, and it
Yeah.
wasn't in Walmart.
No.
And so now
No.
take that same shortage that we had and cut it in half, and that's what gets to the retail or less, and that's what goes to your Dragon Slayers and your comic shops. And you take the other half and put them in packs that go to Walmart and Target. How much worse would that have been? Because that is exactly what Lorcana did.
Man,
Wait,
And
so
a single Vader would have been
you mean
$300.
you mean when Lorcana? Okay, help me out here because I don't know all the history. When Lorcana first came out, that very first set that was so hard to get,
It was in
it
retail.
was split between retail and hobby right away at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yes, immediately, immediately,
Yikes.
and it kept like
I
people
didn't know
were
that.
not. Retailers were very upset with. I mean, it was Disney and it was a card game, so they had to support it. And it's since gotten over that, but in the
Yes.
beginning, it was a lot of anger and a lot of backlash, both from the hobby retailers, owners, and the people that ran those shops, and the people that wanted to build communities because
there were no
you would
cards.
there were no cards. Like even the cards at Walmart, people would
Buy them and
it was
scalp
like
them. Scalp the hell out of them.
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
Sure.
It was a thing where like there's a third party. It's not Walmart, but it's a third party company that Walmart contracts to come in every week and fill their shelves with Pokemon and Magic and in this case Lorcana. And people would camp at Walmart and then buy everything immediately, and then it would go online and everything would get marked up.
Turn around, double it and sell it on eBay or whatever.
Right, and so it's not inherently bad for the cards to be in those stores, but it is detrimental to building communities if half or more of your product goes out those channels and doesn't go to your hobby shops or your retailers, your specialty retailers that are there to build these communities. So I'm especially appreciative of this. Is another decision that FFG made about this game that I am appreciative of them getting it right.
Yeah,
which is very alien for me to say, having played FFG games. They don't get a lot of these decisions correct, but they've nailed a lot of them in this game, and this is one of them that they nailed of supporting the hobby stores, supporting the specialty retailers, we've been playing this for a year and 2 months now, a year and 2.5 months. And the game has grown like a solid base of players that will go to your Dragon Slayers or your Cards and Comics or your Bedrock or whatever it is.
Stores.
And it supports those stores. And those people, the stores that have been able to develop communities without competition from a million people going to Walmart and dropping all their money at Walmart and showing up and buying a Coke and playing the night at your store, like they've developed solid relationships with those retailers. Those communities have developed, and like now we take the next step. Now we grow the game to people beyond just people that go to your specialty stores, and they crushed this decision. I'm very excited about it.
I'm super excited to be like, my wife needs, we need laundry soap and toilet paper. I got you, babe. I got you. Pick up like 3 packs on the sly.
Too friggin' funny. Well, boys,
if they wanted, one last thing, if they wanted to continue to favor the specialty retailers, they might be able to, like, if they just brainstorming here, they might do like a specialty pack for Walmart that doesn't have any chance of a showcase in it, so that if you can get into the game there, I don't know, just a thought that if they wanted to, you go to Walmart, you buy your hanger packs, you get into the game. If you want a chance to get the showcases, you go to your card store and participate in that community.
I hate that idea because I like the idea of a new player randomly getting a showcase and being really excited and like, oh, this is really awesome now. And now they really want to learn. They want to find a community and join, like, because they got this awesome card. They want to learn how to play it or whatever, right?
Fair enough. That's a legitimate response.
Yeah.
I would be perfectly happy if even like the hanger packs were a little overloaded in like hyperspace cards or something to help. I don't know, just get more people into it.
I think they just need to be regular
I really
packs.
don't know, but like, I think they'll just be regular packs.
Yeah.
But I think it's gonna be great. I hope it's great.
Well, guys, as of this week, we are officially at the halfway point of the JTL meta, right? JTL's been out 8 weeks. In 8 weeks, we'll have Legends of the Force cards in our hands. So, spoiler season is upon us. We had a bunch of spoilers drop today on the big stream for the starter deck versus starter deck, Maul versus who was the starter deck? It's Qui-Gon. Maul versus Qui-Gon.
Nice.
Maul won both those games pretty convincingly on stream.
Good.
But I am curious.
Starter decks that are just horribly imbalanced.
But I am curious. Ian, talk to me about some of the spoilers. We're not going to hit every spoiler, but like some of the ones you've seen so far that leapt out to you and you went, "Ooh, that card looks like fun. I'm excited about that one."
So I'm really excited for the Kanan leader. Really excited for that.
That's interesting. A lot of folks are of mixed opinions on him. What leaps out there?
I don't know. I've always wanted to try to make a Spectre deck work. I feel like maybe this will help it work with the creatures.
Okay.
I don't know. He's also just probably like one of my favorite Star Wars characters that's out there.
Okay. A valid reason.
Yeah, probably just for that, to be honest, too. That's pretty high on the list. I really like the Sith Holocron. I think
Yes.
that's a pretty interesting card.
That's a cool
I
card.
think that's gonna work. I thought about my first thought was that it would work great in like a Thrawn, like a Thrawn deck where you get undefeated abilities. So you defeat your unit, you get the whatever bonus it is, grab it twice, and then attack for 2 extra damage. I thought that was a pretty sweet play that I thought of in my head when I saw the Sith Holocron. And then another one I really like was the new Kylo unit. I think he's going to slip in really great into a Kira deck because you'll be able to damage him, give him an upgrade, a shield token, and then use the Force.
Yeah. Okay.
So I thought Kylo would be the new Kylo card would be a real quick fit in for a Kira deck.
I hadn't thought about the shield upgrade being shield token being an upgrade, but it would count for his
allow
game
you
text.
to use
his draw card game text.
Force,
yeah, for sure.
To draw a card.
For sure.
So I thought that was be pretty sweet. But those are probably the 3 that stood out to me so far that I've seen. I haven't seen very many. Again, I try to avoid spoilers, but because of we do this podcast, I'm paying more attention now. So those are the 3 that really jumped out to me.
All right, Trey, what's on your list so far?
So I don't normally like spoilers, and I barely pay attention. I'll read the card. I've said before, I'll read the card once. Go, that's nice, and then move on. But I have played so much Star Wars Unlimited since Carabas and just doesn't. I've played so many different decks that I'm now having trouble. I'm having trouble finding a new deck that I want to play. Like I've got Count Dooku built. I've been playing Rose online and having fun with it. I've got Poe. Like I've got all these decks built and or played, and I've played them enough that I'm now like sated with them, and I'm looking for something new. And there's just nothing interesting right at this moment. So I'm paying a lot more attention to these spoilers, which is an unusual thing for me.
Okay.
So I've got I've got 3 cards picked out. That was I thought I would go over all the other 57 cards that have been released that Ian didn't go over, but I decided to cut that down. It's amazing how many of these cards that I look at and then immediately think they will slot perfectly well into my Chewbacca Rey Twin Suns deck. And that's basically the only lens that I look at this stuff through anymore. So to that end, I've chosen 2 of my 3 are that. I actually had 3 chosen for that. And then I was like, let's go with something different. So the number 1 on my list right now is Dume, I think it's Dume, which is the wolf.
It's just Doom. Yeah.
It's just Doom.
Doom.
What a... He's a 4-cost.
Typical Star Wars language.
Yeah. All right. He's a 4-cost double blue aspect, which perfect into my double blue Twin Suns deck with green. He's 2/7. He's a force creature, which is interesting. So he works with Kanan, which is a creature thing. Doesn't Kanan do creature stuff? Yeah, he does.
He does.
Yeah.
Have you watched Rebels?
Yeah, he clearly hasn't
I've watched Rebels. I know they're supposed to work together. I just don't remember what Kanan did exactly.
He was the wolf that guided.
Yeah. I know who he was. But anyway, he's a 2/7, so he's a 4-cost for a 7-butt guy.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, when the regroup phase starts, give an experience token to each other friendly non-vehicle unit. So this guy does not have Sentinel. This guy has Sentinel.
Yeah.
This guy has to be killed
opponent wants to murder him quickly.
Which means even if they kill it immediately, he's going to deal out... nobody's going to kill it in one shot on turn 3 on a 4-resource turn. So he's going to deal out 4, 6 damage, something like that. Even if he dies immediately, he's going to distribute a bunch of damage getting them to kill it. But then after that, like in my Twin Suns deck where I have 3 or 4 guys on the table and they just start to all get... If he lives 1 turn and I pass out 3 tokens... 1 at 2, 1 at 3. Well, I guess 1 at 2, and then maybe 1 or 2 at 2, 3 and 3, whatever. That's huge. That is so big to like start getting all these tokens. So Doom is he's just very exciting to me.
I want to shove him behind a village protector.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
I want to put a village protector out, and I want to play him immediately afterwards, and just boop, boop, boop,
nice.
Boop, boop, boop.
So the next one also goes in that deck because I can drop him out with Chewbacca and give him Sentinel is Ogdo Bogdo. Ogdo Bogdo is a 3-cost single blue ground unit. It's a creature. He's 5/5. He's a 3-drop 5/5, but he can't attack unless he's damaged. Mm-hmm. And then when this guy attacks and defeats a unit, you heal 2 damage from him. So he might take a shot and then he can attack But then he kills that thing, and so he's healed back up, and now he can't attack again until somebody else does him. But this is an amazing thing to drop with, even later in the game, to drop with Chewbacca. Just a Chewbacca leader to tap Chewbacca, drop this guy. This guy now has Sentinel, and then you have to go through a 5/5 to get to me. And then if you try and don't finish it, like he's going to be damaged. So now I'm cracking back with a 5/5 on the next turn, or 5 damage something while on the next turn while I'm doing something else. Oh, this guy's, and he's such a, I find it to be such interesting design space. Like overpowered creatures for undercosted, or I guess undercosted for their power and toughness creatures is like a common theme. There's just always some drawback, but I don't know that I've ever seen a drawback like this.
It's a really unique card.
It is a pretty interesting, exciting card.
The playing him with Sentinel with Chewbacca that's brutally awesome.
Isn't that so fascinating?
Is such a great, like, if you're playing that in Twin Suns and you're like, I play this card Sentinel, literally nobody will attack you.
No, nobody's coming to get you. No, they're just going to throw their guys away trying to kill it. Again, it's like Doom, his butt is so big, he's going to eat multiple people trying to come after him. So even if they do kill him immediately before you get to attack with him, he killed a bunch of guys on his way out. So that's exciting. So then my third one, it's less about the card and more about what the card represents. It's the constructed lightsaber. So it's a 3-cost, no aspect upgrade attached to a force unit, gives it +2/+3, and then if it's white, or if it's black, or if it's neither, it gets Restore 2, Raid 2, or Sentinel. Let me back up. I think Space Wizards is stupid.
In draft.
I think Space Wizards are stupid, and I love Star Wars, but the way that the Force is used and the fact that you can solve anything with just finger-waving magic is dumb. But I accept it because Star Wars is amazing. That being said, I think lightsabers are cool, super cool. I almost said some cool as something that probably shouldn't say on a podcast, but lightsabers are like super cool. I want to own one. I have one in my office, but not a real one. I wish. But I think it's so cool what it represents that we have a non-colored one. Like that, to me, I feel like that what that means is that there are so many other colored lightsabers in this set that we're just going to get this plethora of lightsabers. And I just think lightsabers are cool.
And they say like 16 or something like that?
I haven't seen any notes on it. But
I think they were listing colors, but when they say colors, what I think they're talking about is the color of the blade on the art, not the color of the card.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. But I just think it's cool that we're going to have enough lightsabers in this set now that they want to throw in, that lightsabers are going to matter enough in this set that they're going to throw in a colorless one to make sure that in draft or in sealed, you get the one you need. You get one.
So fun in draft.
Love that.
So fun in draft. Can't wait for that card in draft.
Well, I guess I'm looking at it now. It's legendary, so it's not going to do that in sealed or draft.
You're not going to see a lot of it in draft, no.
Yeah, I could see somebody like Balls passing it to me.
Probably.
So
anyway, I just love that it exists.
So for me, I'm with Trey on this one, right? Like this whole set to me is probably going to be like I'll play it. I'm not a giant Space Wizard guy. However, there are a lot of interesting things about Space Wizard lore over the years that I have ingested from playing the tabletop RPGs and stuff that really fascinate me. One of those is that the various styles and schools of lightsaber combat all have names, right? I didn't learn this till not terribly long ago. And it's something that we saw Fantasy Flight incorporate into Destiny. And in this set, they're bringing those cards in as well. We've already seen 2 cards spoiled, one for Ataru and one for Soresu. And we know, my suspicion is we'll see Vapad, which is, I think, a very unique style that Mace was one of the only real masters of. And there's several more out there that I can't remember the names of. Huh?
Neiman is one.
Yes.
Niman.
Yeah. So bottom line is, I'm hoping that we'll see more of those, at least one in each color, but I would be okay if they even had some that, were neutral or whatever. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I like the idea of those cards, and I like the way they work. They get that little bonus ability for, if you do something cool with a force unit with this cheap event, you give it a, whatever. I like the synergy. Yeah, I like the synergy.
So I have an interesting story about that, about the school's cards. So back to Star Wars Destiny. Star Wars Destiny released a couple of them and then ended.
Correct.
There was a group of players who continued to make Star Wars Destiny cards. They're still going. It's Star Wars Destiny. You can still play it. It's made. The biggest one that made these cards was a group called A Renewed Hope, ARH. and they have made, I want to say they made like 7 or 8 or 10 sets since then. And so
Okay.
there are a lot of cards that have been made. Early on in ARH's life cycle, so 21, 22, right in that area,
Mm-hmm.
I was fortunate enough to be one of the people designing cards for them. And so I have a number of cards. I love telling stories about designing cards. Designing cards is like my favorite thing that I have ever done. It is so exciting because I got to like I got to dive myself, throw myself into the Star Wars lore, and then look at some situation or a ability or a thing, or in this case, school of how to fight with a lightsaber, and absorb all of the lore. Go in, learn as much about it as you can, and then figure out how to tell that story through the mechanics of the game.
In 4 sentences and card mechanics.
In the card mechanics of the game and how to do that. And so there are a number of them. It was either 2 or 3. I don't remember exactly how many I designed because I've slept since then. But designing these cards, just sitting down and reading every single bit that there is to read about Ceresu, or actually I think Jarkai is one. Like the Jarkai is one of the ones I designed, and trying to like just soak in what it means to be a Jarkai master or a Jarkai apprentice, and then how do you represent that in the card game. That was one of my favorite things that I've ever done in my entire life, is just immerse myself in the lore of Star Wars, and in this case in particular the schools of lightsaber fighting, and tell that story in a card. And it was just the most fond memories that I have of designing those cards. So exciting.
Anyway,
so that is to say that I have thrown myself into that, and it would take a tiny refresher course to remember it all. But once I did, it would be like I'd be like a walking encyclopedia of what all of those things mean.
Well, I'm excited to see those come to the game. Today they spoiled a new Maz Kanata, which is very similar to like a fleet lieutenant, right? Like except that she's playing green, and she simply works on force units, which I really like because I've always, as a primarily villain fanboy, I don't play a lot of hero decks. I've always felt like the Snowtrooper Lieutenant was just not as good a card as the Fleet Lieutenant. And now I look at a card like Maz, and I'm like, what I like about Maz is she's just straight green. I could play her in like a villain deck built around force units as long as I had green in there. And as we've talked about many times, green is a really good color to have. Lots of really good support cards in green. So I like the new Maz. And the last one that I made some notes about that when they spoiled today, my eyes lit up and went, "Ooh, that looks like fun." Is the new Pong Krell. Right? We have General Krell from the first set. It's the same character. Now they've renamed him. He's a blue villain. He's a villain Jedi, which is interesting. But
are you familiar with his story?
No, I haven't seen that episode of Clone Wars, so no spoilers because I'm going to get around to it eventually.
Okay.
But what I love about the card is when I saw it, I immediately went, Grand Inquisitor loves this card because it's a 2/9 7-drop with grit. So you're going to most cards at that cost, people, if they don't have an immediate impact on the board, people immediately just like, for that price, it needs to have some kind of impact when it comes into play. Krell doesn't until you pair him with something like Inquisitor, who damages him, stands him up. Now he's a 4/7 that can deal out damage and murder something, right? And like I was like, I like this. I like the idea of this card. Will I actually be able to pull that off? I doubt it, but it looks like fun. So I like the card.
As somebody who plays a lot of Grand Inquisitor, if you don't win on the Grand Inquisitor flip turn, you're not winning.
You think so?
But
yeah, I mean, just
what
as
is a
far
weakness
as
of
I
the deck
played
is
on
it doesn't have a 7-drop. That there's nobody that plays well into that at the top end, so there's nothing to add to the Inquisitor deck.
Exactly right. The problem with in my experience, like one of the first decks I tried to build many moons ago, like this time last year, was Grand Inquisitor Blue. And what I discovered very quickly was you reach a point as you go farther up the cost curve that finding units weak enough to use his game text doesn't happen. They don't exist. Yeah. And now suddenly I look at a card like Pong Krell and I go, aha, now there is something up here that intrigues me that I can actually use his game text on. Now, do I really care? Do I need to be using his game text? Not necessarily. But it is still a really cool card that I like the idea of it, and I think it's a really neat design. So I look forward to getting to those episodes of Clone Wars and catching his story. Well, Trey, ordinarily we do some stuff here at the end, but we are basically out of time already. So I think we probably need to go ahead and call it here.
That's fine.
Cool.
Yeah, that's good. All good.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for joining us. As always, I've waited till the end to give you the obligatory. Please throw us a like, a subscribe, a 5-star. Give us some feedback, comment, video comments. I usually patrol the video comments over on YouTube, so if you leave some comments over there, let us know what you think, and we'll hopefully see you guys for the next episode. All right, y'all take care. Peace. We'll see you guys later.